Hi everybody, Adrienne here, and today I'm coming to you with a review of the Lorac Pro Palette 2. Came in a box like this, a gift set with an eye primer. I purchased this almost 2 months ago. I'm going to go ahead and take the palette out of the box. The palette looks like this. Nice, soft, kind of suede filling covering on the outside, which even though it feels good, would get dirty pretty easily. Mine is still pretty clean, and this is what it looks like on the back, and it is so soft. I like the texture of it. I'm going to go ahead and take the eye primer out. The eye primer looks like this. Cute little packaging with that. I love stuff that looks like hematite or any gunmetal type stuff. So this is an eye primer that came as a free gift with it. I'm going to go ahead and open this thin palette up and show you what it looks like. Looks like this has a thin little mirror here. It's not very wide, but you could look in it and at least do your eye makeup, and it's got this protective covering on it, the plastic covering that I'm going to sit down that keeps the powder from getting all over your mirror and smearing your packaging. I'm not wearing this palette right now. The eye look that I have, this is not from Lorac. This palette, I'm going to go ahead and swatch it on my hands. I'm not even going to swatch it on my arms. As soon as I am done with this review, I am going back to Ulta with this palette. I am not happy with this palette at all, and I will explain to you why I am returning this palette as I'm swatching these colors. The first color is this color called Buff, and that's what it looks like. And the next color here is called Light Brown, and it kind of blends in with my skin tone, so it's kind of hard to see. And the next color is a Cool Gray. As you can see, the pigmentation looks pretty good on these palettes. These mattes are pretty buttery. That's what's left on my hands after I swatch it across the hand. And I will move on to the next two colors, which are Nectar and Plum. And here's the Nectar shade and the Plum. And then to the Navy. And these three colors, the Nectar, Plum, and Navy, are actually why I bought the whole palette. I have been eyeballing this palette for about 2 months before I broke down and decided to buy it. I know you guys are looking at this and thinking, gosh, those swatches are very pigmented and this is turning out great. Why is she taking this palette back? Well, I have to say, every time I swatch it, I am stunned also that I need to take this palette back ASAP. The first time I tried using this palette was on my way to work. I wanted to create a neutral kind of brown look that should have been no problem. And I used these four shades here. I used this one for the brow bone, and I used that light brown shade for a transition shade. And then the Nectar was on the eyelid. And I think I used the Cool Gray and maybe a darker shade for the outer V for the contouring color. These colors swatch well. They're soft and buttery and creamy, but when I would put them on, it would turn into like just a muted, muddied color. Like all the color would run together. There would be no definition. You couldn't even tell the separation of color. The colors were not bold and vivid. The only thing that would show up bold or vivid is maybe the Plum or the Navy shade, but everything else ran together. As you can see, the matte shades, because all these are matte here in this row, on the top row of the palette, it all just muddied together and looked like a muted mess with that first look. So 2 more times I tried to get in the palette, and actually yesterday I played with the palette and tried to come up with a look for you guys because I knew I was going to want to review this palette and get it back to the store, and I thought I could at least find something to do with it that would be presentable enough for you. But no, everything, even using the shimmer shades, everything ran together and just looked like a muted, muddled mess. And I'm totally stunned by it. When I swatch these, matter of fact, as you can see, the pigmentation is so nice that you barely touch it, and so much color comes off that the pigmentation is just bold and in your face, and it makes no sense I'm looking to make sure everything's coming into focus, but it makes absolutely no sense to me why this palette doesn't perform awesome. I talked to some of the girls that work at Ulta about the palette, and they said that lots of their sales reps love it, but that they don't actually use the primer that comes with the palette, but they said they don't particularly care for the primer. Well, I let them know that I use these palettes with the primer and without the primer, and the result was the same each time. The colors just muddy together. I've used it with a blending brush, I've used it with shader brush, I've done it with just patting the color on the eyelids with the fingertips, and even the shimmer shades ran into the matte. Like everything just from blinking would go from the eyelid up into the transition shade, and it just looked like one big mess. You could not tell one distinction from each color. The colors didn't remain bold. The only ones that still look bold are the navy shade and the plum shade, but it bled into the other colors and made them so muted that it looked like you just took that color and rubbed it on everything. So I can't believe that this is an issue, and that with those swatches I would need to return this palette, but I'm not going to be able to wear this palette at all. It just does not work for me at all. This isn't the first time that this has happened with the high-end palette, especially with the matte colors. I had that happen with the first Tarte palette, and I ended up returning it also. I tried for 2 weeks to work with that palette with different techniques and different primers, and I never could get those colors to pop for me. It just looked like muted mud. It actually kind of looks like I just pick up some earth tone dirt and rub it on my eyes, and there's no distinction of color. And this palette is a $42 palette. I also was eyeballing the first Lorac, what is it called? The Lorac Pro Palette 1. I thought I wanted it, but I would swatch it and I was thinking, oh, those colors don't pop so great to me. And even though they feel creamy and buttery and they're very pigmented, I don't know if I want it. So I bought one of the Dupe Makeup Revolution palettes, and I'm so happy that I did do that, because it turns out once I swatched those colors, I don't really care for those colors on my skin tone, but I have to say that the pigmentation shows up great with the knockoff palette. And so if I decide possibly to buy this palette in the Makeup Revolution dupe, I will definitely make a video of that and show you guys what I think of it, because I do love the colors that are in this palette, and they swatch so well and look awesome on my hands. I just do not understand why it turns into such a muted mess on my skin tone, but I'm not confused enough to hang on to this palette and waste $42, because that's a pretty pricey product to not be able to use it or to not be happy with it. So I am returning this product ASAP to Ulta as soon as I'm done recording this. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope this review helped you. If you have a Lorac Pro palette or the 2 palette and you love it and it works for you, please leave a comment in the description box as to how you use your palette, or if you've had this issue or know of anyone else that has had this issue, let me know also what they've experienced with this palette. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Also, you're going to want to hit that notification bell next to the subscribe button so you get notified every time I upload a new video. See you guys later. Have a great day.